Okay. In today's session, we would be seeing bring your own data in Azure OpenAI, wherein we would be seeing how can we leverage the Azure OpenAI and how can we create as well as bring our own data into the Azure OpenAI, and we would also be touch basing on how do we connect it when it comes for Power Platform as well. So, before I get into the today's session, let me give a brief introduction of myself. I am Bhargavi from Chennai, and I am working as a senior software engineer for Ford. And I am a Microsoft MVP and Microsoft certified trainer and a C Sharp Corner MVP too. And I write articles and blogs inside C Sharp Corner forum. And you can get in touch with me through LinkedIn and post the session as well. If you have any doubts, I would be happy to help you. This is my LinkedIn QR code uh, if you want to get in touch with me. Okay. With that, the agenda for today's session would be we will be seeing what is Azure OpenAI, and we would also be seeing what are the users of Azure OpenAI, and we would also see what are the prerequisites that are there for Azure OpenAI and the architecture for connecting the Azure OpenAI with different platforms and pricing and demo part as well. With that, getting into the session, wherein Azure OpenAI is one of the OpenAI services that are available under the AI portfolio of Microsoft, wherein it is one of the tools which are used by developers and scientists, which can be integrated with the business application as well. Like we have multiple tools like Azure Machine Learning, Vision, Speech, Language, Decision, and Azure OpenAI is one of the service that is available right now, and which is something that what we would be seeing for today. So, what does this Azure OpenAI service mean? Is like it has pre-trained models being available inside it, which is a model customization, which has model customization capabilities being available with it, and it also provides. It also acts as a tool to implement the responsible AI, wherein the data that you feed in inside the Azure OpenAI with your own organization data is not being used for training the model behind it, such that the data that what you are trying to use has an enterprise grade security being implemented with it, and you will have a secured model being developed over there. So this is all about the Azure OpenAI. What does this Azure OpenAI offering can do for us is like it can do content generation. Content generation is like when we want to do some content being generated, then the content generation is being done by it. Like when we give it a phrase or prompt, and when we want to generate a content out of it, then we use content generation for it. And uh, we also have Azure OpenAI to be used as chatbot or virtual assistant as well. Like it acts as a virtual assistant by leveraging the natural language understanding capabilities that are there inside it, and it would be acting as a virtual assistant to us. And it also acts as a translation models, say in case if we want to translate from French to English or from English to French, then that's possible too. And we would be using that for that as well. And when we want to summarize some text, like what we saw in the previous sessions, then that is also possible as well. Like when we given the whole content and when we try to summarize the text, then that's possible too. And when we want to find some sentiment analysis out of it, say in case when you have customer feedback, and when that customer feedback has to be used for um, doing some doing some improvements inside the solution, then we would be using the Azure OpenAI offerings, and we would be using that as well. And what does this bring your own data concept mean is like you would be bringing your own data for the model to give the response based on your data. Say in case when we want to when we are working for two different scenarios, like when we are a service provider and working for IDBI, and one is for like one is for a bank and one is for some other IT company, then what we do here is that we should not let the bank details be known by some other company as well, right? So what we do is that we would use a secure phase for bank, and we would also be using the secure phase for storing the data which are there for the other company as well. So what it acts is like the knowledge base is something which has been available at the back end, which would be having the we would be maintaining a different knowledge base for different customers, and we would not be letting others know that the knowledge base is being transferred to the next person. And to build that particular knowledge base, we will be getting our own organizational data, and we will be building the data with those things is something called as bring your own data concept. And for which to get an action, what we need is like we need a Azure subscription, and when we want to implement to it, we need a power platform tenant as well. And apart from that, we need Azure OpenAI service request access being raised, and also we need a Azure storage account. And apart from that, few training documents which needs to be fed in as part of your organization is something that what we need for bringing your own data concept. So what happens is like Azure OpenAI service will be acting I mean, you would be requesting for the Azure OpenAI access, and once you had requested, you would be storing your data that what you want from your organization into the storage account, right? So for which you need a storage account, and the training documents is something that what you get from your organization. These are some things that are available that needs to be available when it comes for bring your own data concept. And to get the Azure OpenAI access, for now, Azure OpenAI is not a free resource. Like we have to request it, and we have to get the we have to get it approved, and it may take a minimum of 10 to 15 days when we had requested it. So once the request is done, we would be getting an I mean, moving to the next phase as well. Like we would be creating the resource over there, and then from there we would be navigating to the Azure OpenAI Studio, and we would be working over there with the help of our own data. So once this is all done, what I mean, the architecture for the Azure OpenAI to retrieve the data works in this way. One is the client whenever the client initiates the conversation, say in case when you had given in chatbot and when you had integrated it, then how it works is like the client will be initializing the conversation, and that can be of any conversation that whatever he does. Either it can be of chat or either it can be of audio, say in case that's considered to be a job, and they are just ingesting the job. And once that is done, it hits up the Azure OpenAI. And when it hits up the Azure OpenAI basically works in coordination with Azure OpenAI search, as well as the data that what you had given it for, which are stored in the data, which are stored in the blob storage or some other storage, which is your own organizational data. So whenever the job hits in the Azure OpenAI, it would be checking with the help of the Azure AI search, which has the cognitive search as well been implemented at it, and which will be identifying with the help of the indexes and skill set or the various kind of the double index to the Azure OpenAI search. And the Azure OpenAI search would be then running the query to read the input blobs being read, which is like it would read your organizational data, and then it would return you back with the result of it, and then it would again hit back to the Azure OpenAI, and from there the client would be getting the response to the response to whatever that they had requested on. So this is the overall procedure to retrieve the data from the Azure OpenAI when we are using the Azure OpenAI Studio being implemented. And how do we connect this particular architecture of Azure OpenAI into different platforms is that we will be having the UI and UX, right? And we will from where we would be giving the prompts to the Azure OpenAI. So the UI UX will have the app server or orchestrator, which will be coordinating with the Azure OpenAI, which is like it would be giving the prompt and knowledge being transferred to the prompt, and the knowledge base will be transferred to the Azure OpenAI. And whenever the app server is being hit, it would be the first step that the cognitive search, wherein it will be fed with the data sources like either it can be of JSON or SQL data, or it can be from the web, right? The data that what we had tried to give in as part of our own data will be present here, and that would be retrieved by the Azure cognitive search, and it would then give the Azure OpenAI, and from there the response would be done, and it would be hitting back to the user is what the whole architecture of connecting the Azure OpenAI with different platform occurs. And whenever we need to use the Azure OpenAI in platforms like Power Platform, or when we want to connect it with Teams, usually we get the either the HTTP response or with the help of the endpoint that is available. We would be connecting that with the various platforms that are available, and from there we would use the Azure OpenAI service that were created. So what are the steps that are there for creating to connect it with the Power Platform is like, first step is we have to go to the Azure portal, and then we have to create a resource group as well. Once the resource group is done, we should then be creating the Azure blob storage, and then the cognitive search resource. So This blob storage is something that which will contain the organizational data being stored in it, right? So this cognitive search will help in finding the Azure blob storage and then retrieve the data to the Azure OpenAI resource. So for which we would then be creating the Azure cognitive Azure OpenAI resource as well. Once this is done, we would then be creating the deployment of the model inside the Azure OpenAI Studio. And once this, we would select the model here, and we would then be progressing um, with our Azure OpenAI Studio. And then we would then feed the data that are there for our organization into the Azure OpenAI Studio with the help of add your own data tab, and from there we would be proceeding with that. And then we would be deploying either it in Power App, either it in the website, or we would also have the facility to use the HTTP response out of it, and from there we can connect the from there when we get the response, we can build the custom connectors, and we can use that as well. So what does this custom connectors means is like whenever the it is something which adds services that are not supported currently. Like say in case Azure OpenAI is something which has not been supported currently right now as a separate connector. So to have that connector um, been established into an action or trigger, we have this custom connectors being available inside the Power Platform, and it is like a premium. It is available. The custom connectors are for the premium licenses of Power Apps. It would be available, and we can build a wizard or using the postman collections or with any IDEs. It would be built, and we don't require a lot of coding inside it, and it would be simple to have a custom connectors being created, and it can be shared as well, and it can be verified via the GitHub too. And once I mean so when we can get it connected with the help of the custom connectors when we have created the Azure OpenAI resource. And once this is done, we also want to know about the pricing part, right? So the pricing part depends on the region that what we select for the Azure OpenAI. Maybe I would show this up when we are seeing the demo, such that I am skipping for the demo part right now. So the first part is that we have to get, once we had requested and got the access to the Azure OpenAI, we would be navigating to the Azure portal, and from there we would be searching for the Azure OpenAI resource, right? So once we hit that, we would then be creating the Azure OpenAI resource being here. So for to create, we would have to give a resource group, and then we also have to give a name and pricing tier being there. And then once this is all done, when you give on next, your Azure OpenAI resource will then be created. So your Azure OpenAI resource is now created, and I am just skipping those parts to avoid the deployment times that it takes, and have created a deployment earlier. So once you have created the resource, you would find that the name that what you had given, you would be finding a resource, and from there when you come into it, and when you go to the bottom of it, you can find three types. One is develop, go to the Azure OpenAI Studio, and um, build in Azure AI Studio. So these are some of the three things that are that will be most commonly used. And this is something like we would be navigating to the Azure OpenAI Studio. I have the OpenAI Studio being opened here. So when we navigate inside the Azure OpenAI Studio, we have different tabs being available inside the Azure OpenAI Studio. So and the first thing that what we would be doing is like the deployment, that what we have to do. Deployment is something like we would be selecting the model, and from there we would be doing the deployments over there. And there can be a number of deployment that what you can do inside one Azure OpenAI resource as well. So it all depends on the token and the pricing that what you try to do based on the model that what you try to consume. And the pricing here mostly depends on the token that what you are trying to use it, when you are giving the prompts and when you get in the outputs, and all the things of the token are being calculated to a simple terms, that the token is like 1/4 of the word that is available. And it would be like so you would select the words from it. And when you when you select a model here, then you would also get a model version being available, and you can also select that. And then once you had selected that, you would be giving a deployment name as well. So if I select on GPT-4, then it would say that my quota is not available. So it all depends on the quota that what you are trying to use for your own subscription. And you should be selecting the model based on that. And if I select for some other model, then it would be allowing me to create as such. And when when we had given the deployment name, it would be doing the deployment, and the model will be created here. So when you want to find out the model that was created earlier, then you can again go back to the deployments tab, and you will find all the models that were created by you earlier. And when you want to test these models that what we have created here, then what we would do is like we have something called as playground here. Playground so, play inside the playground we have chat and completions. Chat is something like when you want to have the chatbot kind of feel. And completions is like when you given the prompt as such, and you would also be getting the response over there in at the bottom itself. And just for the UI sake of change, that what is happening, we have completions and chat over there. And chat is something like which works for model of 3.5, more than 3.5. And completions works for GPT models which are of lesser version than 3.5. And we can use it either of it, and we can test the models over there. And inside which we have something called as setup. Setup is like you have system message, user, and then you have prompts as well being available. And it setup is something like when you want to describe on how does your bot want to react on it, you would be describing on what it has to act like, right? So that is something called as setup. So you have different kind of chatbots, chatbots template that are available earlier as well. And From there, you can go ahead and use it. Or else, this is something like that what we had tried to do. This is where the bring your own data concept comes in. So you can also add your own data inside the model, and you can use it for testing. And now first case that what we would be seeing is like the system message, and then we also have the users and everything, right? So the first thing that we would be seeing is like yeah, we would be instructing it to act as a IRS tax chatbot, which is like it would be acting you to find the tax returns being found with it is the system message, meaning that you are trying to instruct it to find with the data, to act it with that responsibility is what you are instructing the chatbot. And we have other two roles as well, which are available along with the system message. One is user, second one is assistant. So there are three different roles that are available inside the uh, when you Azure OpenAI Studio, when you are trying to build when you are trying to build chatbot. One is like system message, that is something that what we saw. Under is user. User is like the prompt that what you try to give in when you are trying to do it in the results, right? So when you would be typing in the query that what you are giving in, right? So that becomes the user. Assistant is something like the model that what it acts at the back end. So it is like it acts in this way. Say an example, by when do I need to file my tax by, is what the whenever the user asks something like this, the assistant would be replying you back like this, because you had instructed it to act as tax chatbot, right? So it would be giving you the response by this. In 2023 you will need to find the tax, blah blah blah, something like that, and it would be returning you with the results that is there related to it, and it would be giving you the whole response that are related for it. So when you want different kind of templates as well, you can go ahead and use the templates that are there. Or when you want to train your own data, then what you would be doing is like we have start your own data being available, and inside the start your own data we have Azure AI search, and then blob storage, and Cosmos DB for MongoDB, and then we also have URL address, and we can also upload our files as well. So what does all these things do is like Azure AI search is like when you feed in data inside the Azure AI search, then that would be taking up the Azure AI search, and when it's being stored under the blob storage, then you will have the blob storage being created, and then when you given the web address, then you can mention the web address being given here, and from there it has to take the value, it will be taking the data, and from there it has to return you with the responses is something that what you are trying to refer on. Say in case you want to build an application for medical insurance, and your company is of different website, and from that website you have to take all the values, all the data, and then you have to feed in here. So for which what you would be doing is like you would be giving in the company name here, from where the data it has to take on, and then you would also be specifying the Azure AI search resource, and then blob storage resource. For everything that what we do, we need a backend like AI search resource and the blob storage has to be created. So we will be creating one for each, and we will also be giving a URL. And then once that is done, if we need a vector search to be done, then we would be selecting onto it, and then you would be creating onto the next step. And if you need something like data, one second. If you have your own data to be given to it in the form of either text file or either in the form of some data to it, then it's again the same steps. Instead there giving the URL, you would then be selecting the um, blob storage and the Azure OpenAI resource, and then you would be acknowledging it. Okay. When you had given a name for it, then you would be allowed to get you would be allowed to load the data that what is there for you from your end. And when you had uploaded it, then um, it would then be loading for few seconds, and then will allow you to act based on that. So you can also specify whether you have to find it based on the keyword search. And once you had specified the search type that what you had it, then you would be closing it, and the ingestion will be in progress. And when you type in based on that, it would be giving you back with the result that what you had tried to give in inside that particular text or PDF, or the data that what you had tried to feed in over there. So this is something about add in your own data when it comes for the organizational data as well. Like within the time that it tries to ingest, let me try to give a introduction of what does this parameters do, so that we should also set our the parameters also play a major role when it comes for the Azure OpenAI Studio as well. Like we have different parameters which are available here. One is like temperature is the major part that decides whether your chatbot should be of creative or should be of the regular response that what it tries to do. Say in case if you set it to 0, then it is something like your chatbot should be answering of it um, what it has been fed with alone. Or if you set it to nearing 1, then it should be of creative type, and it would be answering I mean it would be answering by its own as well. Like it would vary from the range of 0 to 1, wherein it has different kind of like when you set it to 0, then the exact response of what you had given here would be used, and one is like a creative one. So these are different things that are available. And then we also have view code being available, like what we saw in the previous session as well. Like either it can be in the JSON, or either it can be of C# or curl or of any type. And one thing is like you also have the base URL and the key being available with it, and from there you can go ahead and use it to get it connected with the power apps as well. So the base is something like the URL that is available, and which is this is where you would be taking it for the HTTP response, and you would get it connected. And key is something that what is available here from here, and then you can go ahead and take it. And this is Azure search resource key, and this gets available when you had created the search key being created for it. Say in case when you had added your own data, then this Azure search resource key also gets popped up, and from there you can go ahead and use that as well. So these are the things that are available under the sample code, and we can go ahead and use it based on the index that what we had tried to get. When we go and type in, I'm not sure if it, yeah, when you had tried to give in, then let me show my data that what I had tried to give. I have not instructed to be, I have not instructed it to be acting as a tax calculator. I had just given it about the Power Apps alone. So when I ask about something like Power Apps, then that would get me some references that what it had been, and it would be returning up with the results that what it has with the reference number being mentioned with it. Okay, I don't know what is happening over there, but it's not acting as expected. Even I was testing it earlier. So when we give it over the response, then it would be fetching up the results, and it would be giving you over the results that are there. And now when it's all done, what we have to do it to get it connected with the data that what we have is like, we have to again navigate to Azure portal when we want to get it connected with the Power Apps or Power Platform. We then have to navigate to the Azure Management Services. This is one way that what we can do when we have premium version being available as such. So when we have the premium version, then we should be giving the we would be creating it through the API management service, which is like we would give the name over here and the organization would be mentioned. And once this is done, we would be giving the review, and we would also be selecting the pricing tier. And once this is all done, your API management will be created. And once that is created, you would get the resource being ready, right? So from there, what we can do is like when you go into the APIs, you have many things over there to be get it connected to the APIs. So like when you want to get it connected with the HTTP or WebSocket or even the OpenAI, you have different kind of things that are available over here. And one such thing that what we would be using is like the HTTP API, and display name is something that what you need to give on when you type in over here. The name also gets typed in by itself by default. One second. And then once we had created it, we would then be giving the web service URL. Web service URL is like the URL that what we had tried to get in over from there, right? So the URL which is available under the base URL. So you would be getting this particular part and you would be pasting it under the web service URL, and then you would be clicking on with the create. Once you had created it, then what it does is like it would then be having the resource being available here, which is the Azure OpenAI will be created here, and it would then be checking whether you can have the front end or inbound processing or outbound processing, all the things that are needed for the API management will be handled by itself, and it also acts as the HTTPS web point will also be mentioned over there. And if you want to add in security as well, then you can go ahead and add in the security by editing it. So when you can also edit it by the help of, when you want to edit it, then you can also edit it here. And once this is all done, you can go ahead and test it over here, and it would then be giving you with the response of either it is 200 for a pass result, or some other value which is not there for the failure case. And once the test and everything is being done, what you can now do is like you can export it. You have the option of exporting it over here. When you go to the Power Platform, which is available under the API management service itself, you would then be allowed to activate the account of the Power Apps. And once you had activated it, you should have the premium version of it to get it activated. And once you had activated it, then what it would do is like it would then be allowing you to create the custom connector here, and that particular custom connector will then be created under the Power Apps as well. So this is one way that what you can try to integrate the Power Apps being integrated with the Azure OpenAI. And the second way is like second way is like we have to when we have to connect it with the help of us Microsoft Power Automate, then what we can do is like we can get it connected with the help of the HTTP response that is available, which is like I have created a sample flow. Yeah. We can give we the first step is like when the keywords are being mentioned as something that what we would be giving on, and when that particular keyword is being mentioned, then we will be searching for that particular keyword, and we would also be specifying whether we have to get it connected with the teams. And this is teams that what we had tried to connect. So we would then be giving over the team channel name and every team name and channel name as well. And once it had connected, we would then be instructing it to get the first message out of it with the help of the message that what it has. And inside the teams inside the channel that what we had given with the help of the parent ID that what it has. And then we also have the Yeah, we also have the when we click on add an action, and when we search for HTTP, we would get the response being added for us. Like this is something that what we would be using when we want to get it added inside the response. Say in case you would be giving the URI, right? So to get it connected, what we have to do is like we have to navigate to the Azure OpenAI, and um, URI is something that what we have to get it from here, and we have to paste it over there. And method, we should be giving it as post, and then we should also be giving the key over here with key as the parameter, and we should be giving over the parameter here. Maybe I would show you with the response that what I have. Yeah. I mean, we would be giving the URI here. This whole URI can be retrieved from here as such. Like uh, the key can be retrieved from here, and this whole URI is the combination of, you would be having the base URL, right? So the base URL would be added, and from there you would be adding the deployment name, and then deployment, and then the version also has to be added, is the whole format that what we are trying to do. And we would then be giving up the API key as well. I mean, I had explicitly given the API key right now. So, I mean, it is now exposed, right? My API URL is also exposed, and my API key is also something exposed. So, what we can do is when we go inside to make it even more secure, what we can do is like we can go to the Azure OpenAI resource, and when we go inside it, and when we have the different kind of um, uh, endpoint, region and everything, right? So we can regenerate the keys when they are exposed. This is one way. Or what we can do is like we can put it under the key vault, and we can pass over the key vault value here, such that the key vault URL is being passed here, and that will have the key being mentioned over there inside it, and such that whenever we are trying to expose our URI as well, it won't be affected. And then we would be passing on with the prompt as well with the help of Teams when we are getting it connected. And when we had connected it, it is like the prompt that what you had tried to give will be copied into the body, and it would then be getting the get completions. This is like uh, post a message into the channel activity as it has been used, and this is like what we are trying to give the completions back to the channel, and wherein we would be responding to the model, that from response from the model, and the value of what it has to return will be respond out of it. So the base out of all these depends on this particular call that what we had tried to do with the help of the HTTP request that what we have did here. So we can do this in this way as well. These are the different kind of ways that what we can do when we want to connect it through the Power Platform with the Azure OpenAI. Um, with that, getting back to the pricing part of Azure OpenAI. It all depends on the quota that what we are trying to use. say in case the token plays a major role when it comes for subscription, like how many ever token that what you use will be the limit that what you are trying to get for your model. um, you can see the subscription as well as the region being available, right? So you would be selecting based on the region, and if you can check the model that what you had tried to build in over here as well. Say in case if I want to use tokens per which is like GPT 3.5 is the version that what I want to use, then I would be having only these many tokens, which is of like 240, and I had used 120 out of it, and I still have 50% or something that what it tries to respond on, and I still have these many. I mean, we have different models, right? So you can, if your particular usage limit is being crossed, then you can go ahead and use the different version, or you can either go to the different region and publish the same model, or you can request the access for the same model that what you need by raising the request that what you had tried to use on with the help of OAI access, right? Which is like Azure OpenAI access that what you had tried to request, right? So you can go there and request it again, and within a matter of 30 to 45 days, it would be approved based on the request limit that what they have tried to do on. So these are the quotas that are available, and the pricing part as well. And it also depends on the various pricing part. Like when you want to, when your model is like, when your model falls on for East US or West Europe. I mean, most of the models are available only in the East US and West Europe for now. So you are allowed to select for only those right now. So the model rates are like this. The prawns per 1,000 tokens would be costing this much, and based on the tokens that what you try to consume, your quota would be reduced, and you would be I mean, with the help of the pay as you go policy, it would be deducted with the values that what it has. Any questions for now um, that I can take up? Okay. Um, I don't find any questions over there. Even if you have any queries post the session as well, you can get in touch with me through the LinkedIn ID, and I would be happy to help you uh, with post the session as well. With that, thank you for joining today's session, and thank you, Mohammed, for giving me this opportunity to talk.